I'm really excited to make this video actually because A, I got to do a really cool thing that I want to tell you guys about, and B, I also want to talk to you about one of my favourite things in life, filmmaking. If you regularly watch my videos, you'll know that since I was a kid, I have just adored film, and when I was young I really wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be able to bring other people's characters to life. But over the years I've developed a passion for writing and directing too, and now I want to be able to tell my own stories through film. I've been lucky enough to get to work both on and off camera for the past few years on my own short films and those of my friends and peers. But to be honest, I'm still not comfortable calling myself a filmmaker. Even though I've made a few short films, I think that until the day my first feature film gets commissioned, I won't be okay with that title. And I am working on making that a reality. I've just written a pilot for a sitcom, and I'm working on a feature-length horror film with my friend Paul Neefsey. It's sort of very loosely based on my short horror film called Dementia. I'm talking to a bunch of big studios and networks about potentially getting one of these projects funded, and that's really, really exciting, and I'm having a great time doing it. But the thing I've realised in doing that in the past few months is that making things takes time. I'm so used to making stuff on YouTube now where there's such a quick turnaround on things. Take Dementia for example. The YouTube space had partnered with Legendary Pictures to make this creepy attic set. So the location was already there, and location is often half the battle. I wrote the script and shot list in a day or two. We shot it in one day. I edited it myself over the course of about a week, and all I really needed was a cameraman, a cast of 2 people, a makeup artist and a sound designer for that. And admittedly that's an example of a small project, but that's what I'm used to, sort of just writing a script, getting some friends together, making a thing, and then putting it up as soon as I'm ready. Cut to 2 years later, and I get an email from somebody at Legendary saying, "Hey Hazel, we really like Dementia, we'd love to talk to you about this project that we're working on." I didn't actually end up working on that project, but off the back of that, I did go to their office in LA to pitch them this new horror film I'm working on, which is sort of loosely based on Dementia, which is a nice thing. It kind of came full circle. But my point is, that meeting was months ago, still in talks with them and a bunch of other people, and also, Dementia was 2 years ago. That short film I put up was 2 years ago, and I'm only getting the email now. That's just an example to you, to anyone about to embark on filmmaking, of how slow this process can be. Which kind of brings me on to the point of this vlog, which is that recently I met with IWC, who you may or may not know. They're a luxury watch brand, but they do a huge amount of support for the film industry and film festivals internationally. They're sponsoring the London Film Festival as well, which is taking place right now. You should go see things and get involved if you can. And they very kindly invited me along to the IWC BFI London Film Festival opening gala dinner, which is a bit of a mouthful, and that's not the first take I've done on that. So on Tuesday night I headed to the Rosewood in London, which is a super swish establishment, the kind you feel entirely out of place in no matter who you are, I'm sure. I got all dressed up in a beautiful dress, and IWC let me choose one of their gorgeous watches to complete my outfit. I went with the black one, obviously. I am a Slytherin after all. And before you ask, yes, I did have to give it back at the end of the night, and I was terrified all night because of the amount of money sitting on my wrist. Then Jack and I walked the red carpet. I did some interviews talking about my experiences as a filmmaker.
It is a slow and arduous process. It's difficult for someone trying to break into it. It's quite a difficult industry really. So anything that we can do to celebrate that, anything we can do to prop people up, to help them out financially, or to just give them the time really to work on that stuff, I just think it's really important.
And then off we headed into a sea of people, all somehow involved in the film industry, and I was in my element. Kate Blanchett was there. Kate actual Blanchett. She's just one of the most talented, stunning women I've ever seen in my life. I did get a chance to have a chat with her, except it was less of a chat and more of just me sort of gushing feelings at the woman, but I digress. The whole point of the evening was to announce the winner of the IWC Bursary Award, which is effectively them recognising an up-and-coming British filmmaker and giving them £50,000 towards their future career as a filmmaker. IWC call this giving the gift of time, which is very clever because watches time, get it? I spoke to Hope Dixon-Leach, who was the winner this year for her film called The Leveling, which you should try see if you can. And she told me that she would mostly be spending the money on childcare. She's such a lovely lady, and she's a great writer and director, but she's also a mother of 2. And she told me actually that she had got the train down from Scotland to go to the Gala with her 3-year-old son. She's just a normal woman who wants to make films, and it struck me when I was talking to her that so many filmmakers like myself are actually filmmakers in the making. In the meantime, I count myself very lucky that I'm in the position that I'm in, but that said, it's not just luck. Like, it's about having a plan and playing the long game, and above all, being patient. I started my YouTube channel about 4 years ago now, and I was putting out videos pretty much weekly while I still had a full-time job at Google that was quite demanding. So I was just working tirelessly every evening and weekend that I possibly could to get videos out. I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, and so I saved up my money. I spent time honing my craft and building my audience, and when the time was right, I made the big scary leap from my cushy little job at Google to becoming a full-time YouTuber and running my own business. I started to get some small brand deals here and there, and over time, by choosing the ones that I felt were right for me and for my audience, and by always working really, really hard on every single one, I'm now in a position where between those and the savings I had, I can kind of support myself financially while I work towards my long-term goal of becoming a filmmaker. So I'm about to give you a piece of quite contradictory advice, because while it's important that you remember that becoming a filmmaker takes time, I also think it's really, really important to seize that time and make the absolute most of it. I can't count the amount of people I meet who tell me they've got an idea for a movie. It's gonna stay an idea until you do something about it. Like, until you put pen to paper, until that idea comes out of your head and onto the page, it's never going to become anything. And people who say they really want to start a YouTube channel or they really want to make a short movie, just do it. What is stopping you? I mean, okay, it's not maybe going to be the best vlog in the world or a big budget action movie, but you can tell really interesting character-led stories with just an iPhone and simple editing software like iMovie. That's how I started out. And before that, I was taking creative writing classes. I was learning the basics of telling a good story, immersing myself in novels, short stories, essays, film, TV, you know, learning what works and almost more importantly, what doesn't. My career in filmmaking did not start the first time I stepped foot onto a set. It's been a lifetime in the making. And don't think for a second that your career as a filmmaker is going to begin with that one big feature film you've always dreamed of. It won't. And to be honest, unless you're some kind of prodigy or something, that film would probably be awful. It's not an easy journey, whatever path you choose. Hope has taken a much more traditional route into the industry than me, and I'm sure there are plenty of you out there who will be taking all sorts of routes into the filmmaking industry. But the one thing we all have in common is a passion for storytelling. And I genuinely believe that if you want it enough, if you have the talent, if you're humble enough to start small, if you're willing to work really, really hard, and most importantly, take your time, you will get there one day. Best of luck to each and every one of you, including myself, trying to make it. And I hope that we run into each other someday at some glittering gala event, just like that one, having made our first films that we're very proud of. Overall, only 33% of speaking roles were females. Now, in a world where 50% of the population are women, and we certainly know how to talk, that just seems a little bit off to me.